Trigger warning: lost dead animals. To add, I did not call him a duck unalive to her face, just inserted here for the sake of storytelling. He was given full instructions on how to properly care for the ducks. Visit 2 times a day, fill and refill each time, clean the container, everything during the second visit. He has had experience from helping before. When I reached out to the bride, it was my intention just to connect, since she has not talked to me since the incident. When I told her what happened, she had no idea and was apologetic, even though she did not have to be. I made it clear that she is not connected to the issues, and we were on good terms. Until I said I wanted space from the next event. I wanted to keep my emotions to myself and not ruin her dinner. I was afraid of showing up in the emotion if coming with me. It's her day, and she deserves the attention, regardless of any event or feelings. The bridal dinner included the bride, myself, and 2 other bridesmaids getting sushi to chat about wedding plans and the bachelorette weekend. Everything was already planned, but it would have been a hangout moment for all of us. I had the bachelorette weekend booked and ready to go prior to this. Also, thank you for helping me see her perspective. It's hard to put your feelings aside and see someone else's. My main focus is my husband and his choices. Why he didn't know that he was the best man and why he is adamant on going, since he earlier stated that he would not go. He had no problem feeding and watering my cats and dog every day also. My husband, 28-year-old male, and I, 28-year-old female, went camping for the weekend. We left on a Friday and came home on a Sunday. We trusted our friend, 26-year-old male, to watch our 2 cats, dog, and ducks. On Saturday, my husband got a call from his friend that one of the ducks died. Okay, understandable, things like this happen. They were a few weeks old and sometimes they just don't make it. Sunday morning, we come home. The dead duck is still in the container with the other ducks. A second duck is dying and the third is hanging on. Their water container was bone dry and their food halfway full. If you know anything about raising ducks, they need to submerge their whole bill in water to keep their mucous membrane wet. If that dries out, they can have many complications and ultimately die. Sobbing, I try to keep the second and third duck alive by placing them in shallow water in hopes they drink, but the second one died. The third one was the only survivor. As my husband and I were dealing with this, he texts his friend questioning how he took care of the ducks. He admitted to barely giving them enough water. I was distraught. Many things in my life have been suddenly taken from me, and the timing of this was horrific. Flash forward a few days, I reach out to our friend's fiancé, 25-year-old female, since I have not heard from them since the incident. I thought of her as one of my best friends. I asked if she knew what occurred, and she had no idea. Also, side note, I'm the maid of honor in their wedding. Well, was. I let her know that although she is engaged to a duck unalived, I don't fault her, nor do I expect her to find any resolution. To add, I did not call him a duck unalived, but pointed out the connection. Since she's connected to him, I wanted to make sure she was not feeling blamed. This is his problem and not hers. The timing was terrible because we had a bridal dinner coming up. I told our friend's fiancé that I will not be in attendance due to the recent event, and as time passes, I will be more active in events, just not right now. We had a great weekend planned in the future, and I was looking forward to that. My husband and I have lost 2 children within recent years, as well as a few family members, so the death of anything in my life absolutely takes me out and brings me back to those days. Everyone in our friend group knows this as well. A few days go by, 2 days, and our friend's fiancé texts me saying that she doesn't like the way I've been treating her and that I will be removed from the wedding and uninvited. I have been friends with her since she started dating her fiancé. We used to go out all the time and hang out randomly, plan her wedding, and get into whatever made sense for that day. Confused since I haven't spoken to her since saying I needed space 2 days ago, I agreed and told her she can then pay me back for my dress since we just ordered them a few weeks prior. I also told her that she and our friend have shown no remorse over what was done. He ended the life of 2 of my ducks and has acted like nothing has happened. With no response to that, I then told her she made a huge decision that could have been avoided if we were to just speak to one another. But I felt as though it was not my job to seek that conversation. If they want to apologize, they will. I will not force it. Of course, I added in a few other words regarding her terrible attitude towards me. Since then, our friend has made peace with me and apologized. He's offered to buy more ducks for me when I'm ready, and has proven to not be so heartless. He's come around and helped my husband with projects and busy work. His fiancé has not said a word, even after I've tried to reach out a few times. Today, we received an invitation in the mail. You guessed it, it was a guest invitation for myself and my husband to attend their wedding, listing my husband as the best man and myself as a guest. My husband had no idea he was the best man. When I showed him, he was confused. When I was kicked out of the wedding, my husband and I agreed that neither of us would attend, but now my husband is set on attending. Ultimately, I said if he chooses to go to the wedding, he chose to support individuals that have disrespected me, and as his wife, he should not allow that to happen. He says that if he chooses not to go, then he will lose a friend for good. He still has not decided on what he will do. Clearly, one person will be hurt over his decision, but I am disappointed that he is not keeping his promise and backing me. Am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. This is a friendship that has gone on for as long as it can, and I'm side-eyeing your husband for being so set on going after what happened. If you can forgive the fiancé for ending the life of your ducks, that's great. But I can't understand why your friend wasn't more understanding of the fact that her fiancé's actions hurt you, and are why you had to step back for a little bit. I would be mortified and bothered by the actions of my future husband. Who the heck promises to watch someone's animals and just doesn't do basic caretaking and caused my friend's pets to be in agony before dying? Comment 2. Not the idiot. Thirsting to death is a horrible way to go and easily preventable. You trusted your husband's best friend to keep your ducks alive. And not only could he not do the absolute minimum by making sure that they have water, he didn't even remove the dead body. I have no idea how people can say, "You're the idiot," this. If someone let my pet thirst to death and showed no remorse, I would also distance myself from their wedding. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post. So after the whole duck incident and the fallout with our friends, things took a turn for the worse. My husband and I were trying to move past everything, but it felt like we were just going through the motions. We were both still pretty shaken up by the whole situation, and it was hard to focus on anything else. 3 days ago, my husband finally made his decision about the wedding. He decided he was going to go, despite everything that had happened. He said he couldn't just abandon his friend, especially since he was the best man. I was really upset, but I tried to understand his perspective. I knew it was a tough choice for him, but it still felt like a betrayal. The night before the wedding, we had a huge argument. I told him that by going, he was choosing his friend over me, and that it felt like he didn't care about my feelings. He said that wasn't true, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being pushed aside. We went to bed angry, and I barely slept that night. The next morning, he left for the wedding, and I stayed home. I felt so alone and hurt. I couldn't believe he had actually gone through with it. I spent the day trying to distract myself, but it was impossible. I kept thinking about everything that had happened and how our relationship had changed. Later that evening, I got a call from my husband. He sounded really upset and told me that things had gone horribly wrong at the wedding. Apparently, our friend's fiancé had found out about our argument and decided to confront my husband about it. She accused him of not being supportive enough and said that if he couldn't stand by his friend, then he shouldn't be there at all. My husband tried to explain his side, but she wouldn't listen. She ended up kicking him out of the wedding, and he was devastated. When he got home, we talked about everything that had happened. He apologized for going to the wedding and said he realized he had made a mistake. He told me that he felt like he had let me down and that he was sorry for not being there for me. I appreciated his apology, but it didn't change the fact that our relationship had been damaged. In the days that followed, we tried to work through our issues, but it was clear that things were different between us. We were both still hurting, and it was hard to move past everything that had happened. We decided to take a break from our friends and focus on our relationship, but it was easier said than done. As we tried to rebuild our relationship, I couldn't help but think about the past and how it had shaped our present. My husband and I had been through so much together, and it felt like this was just another obstacle we had to overcome. I thought about the times we had supported each other through difficult moments and how we had always managed to come out stronger on the other side. But this time felt different. The trust between us had been broken, and it was hard to see a way forward. One night, as we were talking about everything that had happened, my husband opened up about something that had been bothering him for a long time. He told me that he had always felt like he was living in the shadow of my past losses, and that it was hard for him to know how to support me. He said that he felt like he could never do enough to make me happy, and that it was taking a toll on him. Hearing him say that was like a punch to the gut. I had no idea he felt that way, and it made me realize that our issues ran deeper than just the recent events. We both had a lot of unresolved feelings and emotions that we needed to address if we were going to move forward. As we continued to talk, we both started to see things from each other's perspective. I realized that I had been so focused on my own pain that I hadn't considered how my husband was feeling. He, in turn, understood that his actions had hurt me deeply and that he needed to be more supportive. Despite our efforts to work through our issues, it became clear that the damage had been done. Our relationship was strained, and it felt like we were constantly walking on eggshells around each other. We decided to seek counseling to help us navigate our feelings and try to rebuild the trust that had been broken. In the meantime, our friends continued to be a source of tension. My husband's friend reached out to him, trying to mend their relationship, but it was clear that things would never be the same. The trust between us and our friends had been shattered, and it was hard to see a way back to the way things were. As we continued to navigate our new reality, I couldn't help but think about how everything had changed so quickly. The loss of our ducks had been the catalyst for a series of events that had turned our lives upside down. It was a harsh reminder of how fragile relationships can be and how quickly things can fall apart. In the end, we were left to pick up the pieces and try to move forward. It was a difficult and painful process, but we were determined to do whatever it took to rebuild our relationship and find a way back to each other. Thank you for reading. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my mom give my brother a gift without giving one to my daughter? My mother has a history of treating my son, J, male, 7, better than my daughter, L, female, 5. The pattern until today has been slightly larger gifts, as well as a bit more attention and affection. Noticeable, but not egregious yet. My son's birthday was last Thursday, and my daughter's birthday is Monday, only 4 days apart. We live out of state, and this weekend would be the only time she got to see them, as it was my brother who had his wedding on Saturday out of state, and everyone would be together. Important background. 3 weeks ago, my mother stayed overnight at our place and bought both of them a $60 blow-up pool for their birthday. About a week ago, she called me and asked if my son would like a specific gift, a kid's plastic axe-throwing set from Costco. I said he would. When we got to the reception, my mother pulled my son aside and told him that she had a birthday gift for him, and she will give it to him on Sunday before we left. My wife and I looked at each other, knowing that likely she didn't have a gift for my daughter, and we are finally going to have to address this situation with my kids and mother. But I let it go. My kids and I were in the wedding, and frankly were busy between the rehearsal and the reception. As we were leaving the reception, we all said goodbye to her, and she asked what time we are leaving. I said 9 a.m. as we have to go pick up our dog from boarding, and my daughter's birthday was tomorrow, so we have lots to do this afternoon. She then asked me if it would be okay to give Jay his birthday present before we left. I asked, "Did you get Elle a present?" She responded first, "Well, no. Her birthday isn't until Monday." I responded, "Well, no then. That wouldn't be fair to give one child a birthday gift and not the other." At this point, she blamed me and said, "Well, you didn't give me any ideas for her." Then, "Oh, well, I can go and see what they have here at the hotel, a casino hotel in St. Louis, so not exactly anything a 5-year-old would want." Again, I told her no. That wouldn't be appropriate. I'm irate at this point, but calmly addressed her. My mom asked if I knew the area and she can run to Target and find something for her between 9 a.m. Again, I said no, and we are going to have to leave. Finally, she said, "Well, I could pick something out for her on my phone and have it shipped to her house." Again, I said no. My son would have a huge gift, and my 5-year-old would have a shipping notification of a last-minute, no-thought gift from Amazon. My daughter has previously asked, "Why does Grandma love Jay better?" And I'm tired of making excuses for my mother. So instead of a 9 a.m. departure, we are leaving at 7:30. Once we are on the road, I will text her to return her gift for my son and that we need some space. I'm tired of making excuses to my daughter. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My daughter may be 5 years old, but she's already asked me once why you love Jay more than her. It truly broke my heart. So here's the deal, Mom. You can love my kids equally and make them both feel special to you, or you cannot be a part of their lives moving forward. What you are doing is unacceptable, and if I have to disown you to protect my kids, I am prepared to do that. Pull your head out of your butt because you're about to lose your child and both your grandchildren because of your own selfish behavior. No excuses, no complaining. You're not the victim, so you don't get to go complain about how I'm treating you unfairly. If I hear one single person tell me you're being unfair to your mother, you'll never see or hear from us again. You know you messed up. Fix it or lose us forever. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Good on you for doing something about this. It's so not right and completely unacceptable. It damages both your son and daughter if you ignore it, and it would have an impact on their adult relationships. Know that going low contact LC with your mom will end up with your immediate family much closer. Good on you for taking that first step. My son is married to someone whose parents showed horrible favoritism. It's so damaging. Her sisters ended up treating her just like her mom. Terribly sad, but she's had years of therapy, has been low contact LC, and is doing much better. A nice side effect is that her sisters are finally treating her much better as she has set firm boundaries from therapy. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for checking in. So after we left early that Sunday morning, things got pretty tense. My wife and I decided to have a serious talk with the kids about fairness and how sometimes adults make mistakes. We explained that it wasn't their fault and that we loved them both equally. Jay seemed to understand, but Elle was still a bit upset. I could see the confusion in her eyes, and it broke my heart. On the drive back, I texted my mom and told her to return the gift for Jay. I also mentioned that we needed some space to figure things out. She didn't respond right away, which was unusual for her. I could tell she was upset, but I felt it was necessary to set some boundaries. When we got home, we tried to make Elle's birthday special. We had a small party with just the 4 of us, and she seemed to enjoy it, but I could tell she was still thinking about what had happened. Later that evening, my mom finally texted back. She apologized and said she didn't realize how much her actions were affecting Elle. She asked if she could come over to talk things out, but I told her we needed more time. Over the next few days, I noticed a change in Jay's behavior. He started to become more protective of Elle, sharing his toys and even giving her some of his birthday presents. It was touching to see, but it also made me realize how much this situation was affecting him too. He didn't say much about it, but his actions spoke volumes. By the end of the week, my mom sent another message. This time, she asked if she could take both kids out for a day to make it up to them. My wife and I discussed it and decided to give her one more chance, but with strict conditions. We told her that if she showed any favoritism, it would be the last time she saw the kids for a while. That Saturday, my mom picked up Jay and Elle and took them to a local amusement park. My wife and I were on edge the whole day, waiting for updates. When they finally got back, both kids were beaming. My mom had bought them matching souvenirs and treated them equally the entire day. It was a small victory, but it felt like a step in the right direction. However, the next day, things took a turn. My brother called me furious. Apparently, my mom had vented to him about our situation, and he felt I was being too harsh. He accused me of overreacting and said that our mom was just trying to be a good grandmother. This led to a heated argument, and we ended up not speaking for a few days. During this time, I started to reflect on my own childhood. My mom had always shown a bit of favoritism towards my brother, and I realized that this pattern was repeating itself with my kids. It was a tough pill to swallow, but it made me more determined to break the cycle. By the end of the second week, my mom reached out again. She asked if we could all sit down and talk things through. My wife and I agreed, but we made it clear that this was her last chance to make things right. We met at a neutral location, a local park, so the kids could play while we talked. My mom started by apologizing again, but this time she seemed more sincere. She admitted that she had always struggled with showing equal affection and that it was something she needed to work on. She promised to make a conscious effort to treat Jay and Elle equally from now on. My wife and I listened, and while we were still cautious, we decided to give her one more chance. As we were wrapping up the conversation, my mom pulled out 2 small gifts from her bag. She handed one to Jay and one to Elle, explaining that she had picked them out together so they would be fair. The kids opened them and found matching bracelets with their names on them. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. After that meeting, things started to improve. My mom made a real effort to show equal affection to both kids, and my brother and I slowly started to mend our relationship. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Looking back, I realized that this whole situation had brought up a lot of unresolved issues from my own childhood. It forced me to confront my feelings and take a stand for my kids. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for not telling my wife I lost my virginity to a man 25 years ago? My wife, age 45, and I, age 41, are in the early stages of separating. Nothing too dramatic, just the usual irreconcilable differences. Specifically money, social balance, and our aspirations for the future. She is content with the house and her work, while I want to explore more of the world before I become too old. Our separation is not due to intimacy, although it has been infrequent in recent years. During this time, I have reached out to many of my old friends for support, as has my wife. One person I reconnected with is the man I lost my virginity to when I was 16 years old, and he was 19. We met for drinks a couple of nights ago and had a pleasant evening, during which we expressed interest in getting together once the separation progresses. The next day, my wife confronted me and asked why I hadn't told her that I had lost my virginity to a man. I was surprised by her question, and it turned out that one of her colleagues overheard our conversation at the pub the previous night. My wife is furious that I kept this information from her for the entire 18 years we've been together. She believes that I deceived her and now thinks this is the real reason for our separation. She is now spreading rumors that I am secretly gay and always have been. Am I the jerk? To add, for those questioning how people could hear our conversation at the pub, have you heard of a pub garden? It's quite easy to overhear someone when they are sitting outside at the table next to you. Almost forgot. I apologize for not responding to comments earlier. The number of posts was overwhelming, and I was waiting for the replies to die down. I didn't expect this to continue overnight. I have a few things to clarify. 1. The age of consent in the United Kingdom is 16. Or at least it was when I was 16, but I don't need to know the current age. 2. My wife and I never discussed our intimacy histories. It may sound unbelievable, but it's true. She was simply not interested in having those conversations, and intimacy was not as important to her as cuddling, for example. 3. I have experienced enough homophobia while playing sports, football, not using the S word, to know that mentioning any intimacy contact would lead to me being ostracized by most, if not all, of my social circles, including parts of my family. So, even though I may have deceived everyone, would it be right to lose my entire life because of whom I was attracted to at one point? Thank you for your feedback, and I will be reading the comments throughout the day. But first, I need to eat a fry-up. Now for an update. It has recently been pointed out that the age of consent for gay intimacy in the United Kingdom was not lowered to 16 until 2000. I always thought it was 16. So I suppose it would have been acceptable if I were a 16-year-old girl with a 19-year-old guy back then. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. That's quite a coincidence that her coworker was right there while you were having this critical conversation. How could her coworker be so close to actually hear that level of detail at the table, but yet you had no clue she was even there? This is the worst situational awareness I've ever seen. Comment 2. Virginity doesn't matter at all. Sexuality does. If you told her you were bisexual and now she's flipping out just because your experience with a guy was first, she's an idiot. But it looks like you pretended to be straight while you weren't, and this is why you're a jerk. Now for the update, hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. So, after my wife found out about my past, things have been pretty tense. She's been really upset, and it's made the separation process even more complicated. We've had a few more arguments, mostly about trust and honesty. She feels like I've been hiding a part of myself from her, and I can understand why she's hurt. But it's not like I was trying to deceive her. It was just something I never felt comfortable talking about. A few days ago, I met up with my old friend again. We had another drink and talked about everything that's been going on. He's been really supportive, but he also made me realize that I need to be more honest with myself and others about who I am. It's been a tough pill to swallow, but I know he's right. We also talked about the possibility of exploring a relationship once my separation is finalized. It's exciting, but also a bit scary. Meanwhile, my wife has been talking to her friends and family about our situation. She's been getting a lot of support, but there's also been some backlash. Some people think she's overreacting, while others think I'm the bad guy for not being upfront about my past. It's been a mixed bag, and it's made things even more stressful for both of us. One of the biggest consequences of all this has been with our kids. They're old enough to understand that something's going on, but we haven't told them the full story yet. They've been asking a lot of questions, and it's been hard to know how much to tell them. We don't want to burden them with too much information, but we also don't want to lie to them. It's been a delicate balance, and I'm not sure we're handling it the best way. In the midst of all this, I've been reflecting on my past and how it's shaped who I am today. Growing up, I always felt different, but I never really understood why. My relationship with my old friend was the first time I felt like I could be myself, but it was also something I had to keep hidden. It's made me realize how much I've been hiding parts of myself from everyone, including my wife. It's been a painful realization, but I know it's something I need to confront if I want to move forward. I've also been thinking a lot about my relationship with my wife. We've had our ups and downs, but there's always been a part of me that felt like something was missing. I think a lot of that has to do with not being fully honest with her or myself. It's made me realize that our separation is probably for the best, even though it's been incredibly difficult. One of the new developments is that my wife has decided to stay with her sister for a while. She needed some space to process everything, and I think it's been good for both of us. It's given me some time to think about what I want and how I can be more honest with myself and others. It's also made me realize how much I need to work on my communication skills. I've always been someone who keeps things to myself, but I know that needs to change if I want to have healthier relationships in the future. Another consequence of all this has been with my job. My boss found out about the situation, and it's made things a bit awkward at work. He's been supportive, but I can tell he's also a bit uncomfortable. It's made me realize how much my personal life can impact my professional life, and it's something I need to be more mindful of moving forward. I've also been thinking a lot about my future and what I want out of life. This whole situation has made me realize that I need to be more honest with myself about my desires and aspirations. I've always been someone who goes with the flow, but I know I need to be more proactive about pursuing my dreams. It's been a tough realization, but I know it's something I need to work on. One of the most surprising things that happened was when my old friend and I ran into someone from our past. It was a mutual friend who knew about our relationship back then. We hadn't seen him in years, and it was a bit of a shock. He was really supportive and understanding, and it made me realize how much I've been missing out on by not being honest with the people in my life. It was a bittersweet moment, but it also gave me hope for the future. As for my wife, she's been doing a lot of soul-searching as well. She's been talking to a therapist and trying to figure out what she wants out of life. It's been a difficult process for her, but I think it's been good for her to have some time and space to reflect. We've had a few conversations about our future, and while it's clear that we're both on different paths, there's still a lot of respect and care between us. It's made me realize that even though our marriage is ending, we can still have a positive relationship moving forward. I've also been thinking a lot about my kids and how I can be a better father to them. This whole situation has made me realize how much I've been holding back, and I know I need to be more open and honest with them. It's not going to be easy, but I'm committed to being the best father I can be. I want them to know that it's okay to be themselves, and that they can always come to me with anything. In the end, this whole situation has been a wake-up call for me. It's made me realize how much I've been hiding from myself and others, and it's something I need to work on moving forward. It's not going to be easy, but I'm committed to being more honest and open with myself and the people in my life. I know it's going to be a long journey, but I'm ready to take the first steps. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!